Kia ora. My name is Tané Hunter and I'm a cancer scientist and a bioinformatician. So I use machine learning, AI, to scan through the code of life, DNA, to understand what causes cancer and help doctors choose the right treatments to improve patient outcome. I'm also a co-founder of Future Crunch. We're a think tank that explores what's happening on the cutting edge of science and technology, and we seek out and tell stories of human progress. We help organizations and people understand what's coming next and give people the knowledge they need to stay ahead as we move into a new era. But before we look to the future, though, we should never forget the incredible legacy of the people that have come before us. I am broadcasting to you today from Melbourne, which is on the traditional lands of the First Nations people of Australia. I respectfully acknowledge their elders, along with the Indigenous elders of the entire continent and its islands, with an awareness that we are on stolen land, land that was never ceded. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the Maori as the Tangata Whenua of Aotearoa, New Zealand. We pay our respects to the mana whenua of the land that many of you are on today. I think it's a privilege to be on this land, in these countries, to have the opportunity to learn from their ancient knowledge and their practices. All right, it's time for some news.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. We have liftoff. SC2, please prepare for section 35.
Recently, a giant phallic symbol weighing over 2 million kilograms and about the same size and height as the Leaning Tower of Pisa launched 10 kilometers into the air in Texas before plummeting back to Earth. The flaps worked in the same way a skydiver uses their arms and legs to control free fall. As it got close to the ground, it flipped and slowed down for touchdown, with the rocket remaining upright. This thing is the prototype for the rocket that will one day take human beings to Mars. Speaking of Mars, you probably heard about the rover Perseverance and its little drone Ingenuity, which just performed the first ever flight in the skies of a world beyond our own. But you may not have heard the even more amazing news that the rover just generated breathable air, drawing the carbon dioxide-laden Martian atmosphere into a small device that performed electrolysis to release life-giving oxygen. Back here on planet Earth, some electrifying news. Audi and Mercedes-Benz have announced that they're stopping the development of any new combustion engines. General Motors said it would stop selling petrol-powered cars by 2035. Volvo says it will stop by 2030, Jaguar by 2025, and the really big one, Ford, one of the biggest car makers in the world, says it will sell only electric vehicles in Europe from 2030. Perhaps it's no surprise then that Shell, Europe's biggest producer of dinosaur juice, just recently admitted that the world has already reached peak oil, and its analysts now expect global production to drop by 2% per year, the clearest signal yet that we've reached the beginning of the end of the fossil fuel era. And maybe the beginning of the end of driving too. In the Pinqing district of Shenzhen, you can now book a driverless car to take you anywhere in the suburb without seeing another human being. In Long Island, New York, the world's first commercially available 3D printed house just went on sale. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a garage, and it's half the price of comparable houses in the same area. Great news for us millennials. Looks like we might not have to give up that avocado and toast after all. Meanwhile, Beyond Meats has signed an agreement with McDonald's, the largest fast food company in the world, to supply them with its plant-based burger, which is indistinguishable from real beef. And in Israel, a startup called Aleph Farms has unveiled the world's first lab-grown ribeye steak, printed by a machine rather than cut off from an animal. Same texture, same taste, without the cruelty. I can now report that cows everywhere are utterly over the moon. Seriously though, imagine if our news looked like this. But news doesn't look like this. As we all know, what sells are stories of death and destruction. They sell better than stories of human progress. Now, I'm not saying that the world is a perfect place. Many things are going wrong for humanity. We are, after all, living through a once-in-a-100-year global pandemic, and we face many other challenges too, from rising geopolitical tensions to a warming planet. But you have to be able to hold two ideas in your head at once. The world is getting better, and the world is not yet good enough. The good news is that you can change the way that you consume information. You can tune your information diet to a more balanced and more nuanced blend of knowledge. 7 years ago, I was a media junkie, and as a result, I was feeling pretty bad about the fate of the planet. Inequality, economic collapse, environmental destruction, terrorism, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Then I made an active choice to change the stories that flashed across my screen. Instead of stories of doom, I chose stories that provided solutions rather than problems. And the good news is, you can do it too. You can tune your information diet, your narrative nosh, to give you knowledge that feeds you, that nourishes you. And of course, as a nerd, I also sought out plenty of stories that revolved around science. And this is what my news feed looks like today. Physicists' hearts are beating a little faster with news from the Large Hadron Collider that they may have just discovered a brand new set of particles. They're still waiting for confirmation, but if it's true, it's the first evidence in decades that there's a larger picture beyond the standard model of physics, essentially upending everything that we know about the fundamental makeup of the universe. Now to what's upending pop music. An artificial intelligence algorithm just learned how to create new Amy Winehouse songs after being trained on her entire back catalog. Here we go. Have a listen.
Well, you know, I got no idea. I got nothing to say. It's all wrong. And I like to get on going. Trouble is showing with this song.
Now, remember, that song was written and performed by an artificial intelligence algorithm. So speaking of AI, on to sailing news. This is Tané Hunter, as I'm sure you're all fairly aware. The recent winner of the oldest trophy in international sport and sailing's most coveted prize, the America's Cup. Now, when the 36th edition began in early March in the Hauraki Gulf, the race's defending champions, Emirates Team New Zealand, hit the water having utilized a new crew member, an artificial intelligence bot created by McKinsey. It turned out to be a winning combination.
The real challenge is getting it to pull off a manoeuvre, and it certainly didn't pull that off out of the box. The crucial moment was when it all of a sudden started beating the sailors, when it started doing upwind times and tacks and jibes that were better than the sailors were doing in the simulator.
So as the bot's performance got close to the sailors, as athletes and as competitive people, wanted to ensure that there was nothing to learn from the bot, or if there was anything to learn from the bot, to further their performance, because they want to be the best and they don't want to be beaten by a computer.
You know, compare what you're doing with the bot is, you know, where we see the performance gains. You know, it's something that was, you know, really cool when McKinsey came in, as they, you know, really challenged us and gave us a lot of new ideas and, you know, ways of solving solutions that we probably perhaps hadn't thought about before.
These athletes took a risk. They were willing to open their minds to new ways of getting an edge and became just as comfortable sitting in a room playing with AI as they were out on the water, allowing them to outcompete the teams that didn't and get wasted drinking booze from a 135-year-old trophy. So in other drunken sailor news, Roger Hunter, aka my dad, made the front page of the New Zealand Herald for his colorful language and this video.
Jesus Christ! Holy shit!
Come on, Dad, watch your mouth. Meanwhile, off the coast of the United Kingdom, somewhere in the North Sea, the Royal Marines have just completed a boarding exercise with jetpacks. I think Iron Man would have been proud. In Ghana, the first delivery of COVID-19 vaccines has been done by drones. Hundreds of thousands of people have already been vaccinated thanks to drone drop-offs at hospitals and clinics around the country. They're already ahead of Australia for vaccinations per capita. Now, another crazy sci-fi news. Scientists have managed to grow mice outside the womb for the first time, taking them from when they were just a microscopic ball of 250 cells and incubating them inside what's essentially a jar until they were embryos that had formed limbs and all the major organs. And finally, in Antarctica, a British geologist has accidentally discovered life in a place where it shouldn't exist. After drilling through almost a kilometer of ice, it came upon an alien-like sponge and other stalked animals dangling from a rock. They were 250 kilometers away from daylight. Life, as the great Dr. Malcolm once said, finds a way. Oh, and by the way, all of these stories that I've told you this morning have happened in the last 3 months. Now, imagine if every person on the planet's news feed looked like this. The beauty of these kinds of stories isn't just that they counteract our feelings of despair, it's that they describe how a better future can be built, really redrawing the boundaries of what's possible, showing that the realm of choice is often much larger than we think, and that there are indeed paths to a better way of doing things. Human beings, we're the most social creatures on the planet, and we're exquisitely tuned to narrative. And when you get that narrative right, we move fast. So my challenge to you, can you tune your information diet to give you knowledge that feeds you, that nourishes you, that gives you hope? Because there are thousands of human beings from every corner of this planet who are finding ways to adapt and make things better even in the darkest of times. If we want to change the story of the human race in the 21st century, we have to change the stories we tell ourselves. Future Crunch out.